prime rib, standing rib roast, beef roast, ribeye roast, whatever you want to call it, this cut-o buff, at least in my head, is sort of like the king roast. Imagine a massive hunk of several connected bone-in ribeyes sort of in one roast. That's what a standing rib roast is. There are few things better than walking into a dining room on a cold winter night just to see this hulking, steaming, juicy chunk au boeuf just sort of sitting over a bed of winter herbs with the big white bones sort of Frenched and exposed, just ready to be like snagged and gnawed on. Few things better. And yes, unfortunately, it is true for a quality standing rib roast, you are going to have to drop some of your hard-earned guala. But I mean, come on, it's special occasion food. This is a special occasion. Live a little. But at the end of the day, one of these rib roasts is going to yield you a buttload of buff. You're gonna have a ton of beef to serve up to your friends and family, and you know, leftover prime rib sandwiches are the top notch. I'm gonna shut up now. Let's make Fred Flintstone proud. Here I have an 8-pound, 3-bone standing rib roast taken from the chuck end of the animal. Ask your butcher for a 3 to 4 bone roast cut closer to the chuck end and not the loin. The loin starts off nice, but then shrinks down into this gristly hodgepodge of connective tissue. It's not what you want. Go with the chuck end. This thing's gorgeous. Got a nice slab of fat on the cap. So now if we take a closer look at the roast, we can distinctly pick out the decal, which is a very flavorful, fattier external muscle on the rib. Then of course running through the middle is the eye, which is super tendy and magnificent in its own special way. Okay, so real quick I just want to talk about this beauty. This already delicious looking hunk of beef is from an awesome farm here outside of Chicago called Slagel Farms. Whether you're local in Chicago or just living anywhere else, do your best to really source your meat from somewhere that cares and that offers a fantastic product. I mean, most good butchers will be able to tell you where their beef comes from. You could ask them behind the counter, they'll let you know. Slagel Farms does an amazing job. This is top-notch stuff. It's some of the best meat available in the city. So if you're local to Chicago and you want to pick up some of this Slagel beef, you can find them in Forza Meats, Homestead Meats in Evanston, Publican Quality Meats, and Fresh Marketplace. Or you can sign up for their CSA program and be sent delicious farm goodies right to your doorstep. And if you're not local, there is a website called Source to Table where Slagel offers a lot of their products, not just beef, a lot of other good stuff too. I know that was a lot of information. I'm going to link all the important links below, so be sure to peep that if you're interested. Shout out Farmer Lewis John. Thanks for the beef, man. Before we roast this boyo, we need to prepare it. This next step is totally optional and 100% for presentation. It's a technique called Frenching. Basically, we're going to slice away any flesh and fat from the inside of the bones on the roast. This gives the bones a super clean, sort of timeless look when fully cooked and presented at the table. You can spend as much or as little time as you want at this. Some cooks spend a very long time removing every single part of the membrane. A cool little trick is to use some kitchen twine to help pull off some of that membrane like so. Again, no need to break your back trying to make this look perfect, you know, unless you want to, unless you're going to take a picture or something, or, you know, I don't know, trying to impress someone. Next, we're going to score the fat cap. Scoring the roast is going to help the salt penetrate into the beef and allow a bit more surface area to crisp up during cooking. Just make little crosshatch patterns like this, I don't know, about a ½ inch apart from one another. Next, slice the ribeye from the bone, and this is going to do 3 things. It'll make carving easier down the road, it'll allow us to season a side of the roast that would otherwise be impossible to season, and keeping the bones on the roast will actually help insulate the beef throughout the slow roasting process, which is going to allow the beef to cook more evenly. Now, season that meat generously with salt on all sides. Don't forget to sprinkle the bones too. So all I'm doing here is salt and black pepper. I like my black pepper a little chunky. To taste, crack on some fresh black pepper, then mop up whatever extra salt and pepper didn't make it on the roast. Now, use some kitchen twine once again to tie the ribeye back onto the bones. Cut 3 even strands of string, wrap them around the roast, and secure them on nice and taut. But not too taut. Then it's in the fridge uncovered for 1 to 3 days. Pre-seasoning the roast and letting it dry out in the fridge is a great way to ensure a juicy and crispy roast. Slow roasting is exactly what it sounds like. It's roasting something at a low temperature for an extended period of time, which is exactly what we're going to do to this rib. You can think of slow roasting almost kind of like a dry sous vide. We're using super low and controlled temperatures in the oven to achieve a particular doneness and texture, just like we would in a water bath. If we were to roast this thing too hard, it would overcook on the outsides and remain raw in the middle. Not good. For a perfect medium rare, roast this thing in a 200-degree Fahrenheit oven until the internal temperature of the roast reads 125 degrees Fahrenheit. It's me again. Alright, so we're going to make a horseradish cream sauce for our prime rib here. using our delicious best friend, creme fraiche. Insert Randy Marsh joke here. Ingredient of the hour, horseradish. This is horseradish root. It's fresh horseradish. That prepared horseradish you buy at the store is made with this right here. Start by peeling a nice portion of the horseradish, then use a microplane or something similar to grate it. Horseradish can be spicy, so taste test a small pinch before you add it to your sauce, then temper the amount that you want to use depending on your taste. I'm a spicy boy, so I'm going in with half a cup of fresh grated horseradish, a cup of creme fraiche, a tablespoon of Dijon mustard, then this champagne vinegar. Any vinegar you like works, whatever, apple cider, sherry if you have it. I'm just about to add about a tablespoon just to balance it out. And of course, don't forget to season with a bit of salt. It's like that fruit on the bottom, yogurt. Once the horseradish sauce situation is handled, set it in the fridge to chill for at least an hour. 3 and some change hours later, and our roast is ready to leave its fiery domain, for now. I should mention this 8-pound roast will shrink about 20% and it serves a person per pound, so just something to keep in mind. We're gonna let this rest for about 30 minutes and then we're gonna pop it into a really hot oven and reverse sear it to give it a better crust. And yes, it even gets better. After the initial rest, bump up the oven to 500 degrees Fahrenheit and pop the roast back on the middle rack for 10 minutes, or until the roast is nice and charred. Like I said, this technique is called reverse searing. Essentially, we're waiting to sear, or in our case, sort of turbo roast the beef until the end to avoid overcooking. Ooh, and I almost forgot the chives in the horseradish cream. Don't sleep on the chives, V important. Oh yeah. Also, you could wait an hour or two to finish the roast in the super hot oven if you don't want to serve it right away after the initial cook. Once the beef takes on a nice crust, untie the twine, slice up the ribs, and then the ribeye. Rib roast bones are probably the best part of this whole thing, in my opinion. They're super fun to eat, especially if you cut the roast all wonky and leave a little extra meat on the bone like I did. Yeah. I like prime rib sliced thinly, so I'm carving them down to about 1/2-inch thick slices. There she blows. Glorious, glorious beef. At this point, we've been at it for hours, so, no shame in a little pre-dinner before we really sit down. We've earned it, right? Yeah. And remember, y'all, sharing is caring. And if you don't feed the camera master, are you really even a cook? And there's nothing to pull the demons out from beyond the shadows like a bunch of red meat sitting out on the counter. If you have a demon, don't forget to feed the demon. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm a giant derp and forgot all about it, but you can also make a nice jus by straining, skimming, and reducing any extra meat drippings. But now we have an excuse to make another rib roast video next year. See, like with most things cooking, it's really pretty simple and straightforward once you understand the relationship between temperature, time, and heat. I hope this video answered at least a few of your standing rib roast or ribeye questions. If you are still a little beef curious, go ahead and leave me a comment below. I'll do my best to respond to you. You could also shoot me a DM on Instagram, whatever works. I hope all of you beauts have a wonderful rest of your day and or evening. I guess if it's dusk, it can be and or. And I will see you next week. Yabba dabba doo.